Welcome to the news for the 4th of July, 2020, anime news specifically. Starting off, as usual, with some anime announcements. We're having a new TV anime for a manga called Don't Toy With Me, Miss Nagatoro, was announced recently. This is a manga series in the manga for masochists genre, if you're familiar with that. So it is about a main character who is constantly being denigrated and toyed with by Miss Nagatoro there, and his adventures therewith. So if that kind of thing appeals to you, that is that, and we'll be getting that anime in a little bit. Also, we've got news of a Knights of Sidonia movie coming in 2021. This will also be yeah. This will be an all CGI anime film. It has been confirmed it will be an original story. Tsutomu Nihei will be overseeing it, and it will be essentially a sequel storyline of some kind to what we have seen so far in Knights of Sidonia. So very exciting, but nothing more that we know of beyond that at this point. That's not all, though. We are also getting a TV anime of a manga series called The Dungeon of Black Company. Yet another isekai anime series. We haven't had quite enough of those yet. This one is a story in which the main character is this completely lazy middle-aged man who gets reincarnated in a fantasy world and is essentially forced to work in a mine, and has no choice but to work really hard physical hours constantly. So suddenly he has to work. How horrible that is. So clearly a comedic bent to that. But newest Sky series coming based on Dungeon of Black Company. And so that is that. New anime coming. No complaints there. With COVID-19 affecting schedules, exact dates, even if we had exact dates, I wouldn't trust them. Just know that those things are coming. Speaking of COVID-19, the live action Cowboy Bebop has been allowed back into New Zealand. They've opened their borders to certain productions in New Zealand that were shooting there, had to leave. They're now back. Cowboy Bebop is one of them, including the Lord of the Rings Amazon series that's also allowed back, actually. So they'll be able to continue filming on the Cowboy Bebop live action, and we'll get to see that hopefully someday before the heat death of the universe. We'll see, maybe, possibly. That's not the only thing that COVID-19 affected. Also affected was Funimation's plans for cons this summer. So they've been running a Funimation con this weekend, and we have some news out of that. A bunch of different little things, announcements of stuff they're streaming. Funimation's getting Naruto, which is actually kind of interesting. But also notable that they've announced the Demon Slayer movie they will be showing in theaters. And I'm sure it'll be a limited run, but they do want to air that in theaters, probably because of the success of the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie, which made bank in theaters. And so that's very exciting to see more anime in theaters. I do think it's one of those things that gets a lot of folks excited about anime, and gets folks interested in those things. Also news that Funimation is expanding into Mexico and Brazil this year. Traditionally a North American company, but as they were bought out by Sony, and Sony has been moving things around and shifting things around, Funimation is now able to branch out a little bit. And they have announced that along with this, they're going to be working on Spanish and Portuguese subs and dubs of their anime series. Obviously not everything all at once, but they're going to be producing those as well for those markets. So exciting. I know those are two big markets for anime. So nice to see those getting some love from the industry. Also seeing some love, Kyoto Animation. They've announced that they're going to be begin recruiting again. So they're going to bring more folks into the studio, which is very nice to see. They've announced that they are accepting applications for animators, managers, and system engineers, both for fixed term and year round. So essentially part-time versus full-time. Well, that's not quite right. Basically, fixed term means for a certain length of time. So you're going to work on this anime and then you're done. Whereas year-round periods means full-time, staff forever, so to speak. They're also looking for general affairs personnel and some 3D CG positions, modeling, rigging effects, animation production, and so forth. Which is interesting because Kyoto Animation is not typically thought of as a CG studio, but obviously you have effects and background stuff and mechanical things and so forth and so on. So I'm sure that is something they are working on. So that is cool. They've also announced that they are accepting enrollments for the Animation Do or Animation Do, which is a training program they have for animators. So they started opening that up again as well, which will run starting in October of this year. It is open to high school graduates who are 18 to 25 years old and presumably who can speak Japanese. So that's good. Also good, RetroCrush announced more classic anime coming to its streaming service. They are a free ad-supported video-on-demand service, U.S. and Canada only. They launched back in March with 12 titles, added another 8. Now they have another 10. Notable are 3 of the Project Eiko movies, 2, 3, and 4, as well as Volta's V and Shingeta Robo, plus a variety of others, Ambassador Magma, Hakuge, Bagi, 1 Million Year Trip, and Ita Kiss. So good to see more anime coming to those services. Those, especially those classic anime where people don't really, aren't really aware of them. And they're kind of getting that audience that they wouldn't otherwise get because people generally just aren't aware of things that aren't streaming out there and around. Also, pretty good news for Sonic the Hedgehog this week. It opened in Japanese theaters this past week. It opened at number 6 in Japan, which is not too bad at all. For reference, it earned 50 million yen, about 471,000 US dollars, from Saturday to Sunday. It unfortunately had a drawback, namely Studio Ghibli. Ghibli decided to put a lot of its movies back in theaters, so they have all been running in theaters, and so the top 1, 2, and 3 movies in theaters that weekend were Ghibli films, because of course they are. Who wouldn't want to go see Ghibli films in theaters? So Spirited Away, Princess Mononoke, and Nausicaa the Valley of Wind were the first, second, and third most popular films of that weekend, making... Spirited Away made $854,000 that weekend. Exactly, yes. It's like, Ghibli! But good on you. Sonic, $471,000 is not loose change in the Japanese studio business, or Japanese movie business. So good to see that's getting some love over there. That must be it. What else could it possibly be? Speaking of love being shared around a little bit, also in news about, worker conditions over in Japan. There's actually an announcement on Studio Trigger's official website. They reached an amicable settlement, so they say, with a former employee about some unpaid overtime. They say it was basically the person had flexible hours and was working long hours and had worked a lot of hours, and because there was nothing like in place to say, well, you worked X hours and this gets that much, it was an oversight, so to speak. But this has been addressed. The former employee said, quote, "It was rough, but I'm glad we reached a settlement without incident. I'm hoping for the proper use of flexible hours in this industry," end quote. And Trigger said, quote, "We are making efforts to improve working conditions going forward," end quote. I think that is the key quote from this, that Trigger is actually addressing the fact that people are working overtime and dying at their desks, basically. So yes, it's a good thing to see some stuff there. Finally, a sad note to end off the night. the mangaka behind Harakyo Maid Team and several others, Morishige, passed away this week. Morishige is responsible for quite a few things. Koi Koi 7, Gakuto no Vector, Sakura Sakura, and Oshikake Maid Shirayuki-san. What makes this a little more complicated is that it turns out Morishige is a husband and wife team. And this was not revealed until this happened, and it has not been revealed which member of that team passed away. But obviously, this has a very strong effect on that, and we will probably not be seeing any more from either member of that, however that worked out. So always sad to see someone passing away in the industry. But that is all the news for this week. I want to mention that, and thank you all for watching. See you next week.